Ms. Pinelli, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us here for the interview. Can you tell us what actions does EY propose for fostering all the emerging culture of entrepreneurship right now in Europe?
Well, entrepreneurship is so important in the G20 and especially in Europe. More than 2/3 of all jobs are from entrepreneurial companies, and more than 80% of all job creation in Europe has come from entrepreneurs. It's important, first and foremost, that we recognize the important and enormous contribution that entrepreneurs make to society. They create jobs, they build communities, and they support economies. So it's really important, one, that we recognize. Secondly is we need role models. We need the rock stars of entrepreneurship to be known and celebrated. As much as we can do to celebrate entrepreneurial stories and encourage others to follow that would be very important. And overall, it's really important that governments, entrepreneurs, and corporations work together to foster an entrepreneurial culture, to really show that entrepreneurship is a path, that failure is a learning opportunity, and that success really can be had through entrepreneurship.
How could that collaboration work practically? In practice, what actions do
Well,
they do?
practically speaking, how can entrepreneurs, government, and corporations work together is probably to fill the need of the most serious concern of young and entrepreneurs in general. And one is access to financing. And really that means is access to cash flow and markets and customers. So corporates could actually support entrepreneurs by including them in their supplier chain and their procurement process and purchase from entrepreneurial companies. Venture capitalists could work together through schemes, government-supported schemes, to actually create funds to support and finance entrepreneurs. And together, actually, entrepreneurship can foster once capital is provided with mentorship. In fact, 80% success rate happens when capital and mentorship are combined. So creating an ecosystem where there's capital, mentorship, and support for the goods and services that entrepreneurs produce could have an enormous economic impact.
Mm-hmm. Apart from access to financing, what other obstacles have you identified for European entrepreneurs as setbacks, and what kind of measures would you propose to the European Commission in order to overcome these obstacles?
Entrepreneurs tell us first and foremost access to financing is critical, but bureaucratic red tape really hurts an entrepreneurial company. The ability to obtain a business license in 24 hours in some countries is a best practice. In some European countries and South American countries, it's more than 6 months. And by then, the business idea is gone. The ability to secure contracts, to increase mobility, to hire, and really be flexible in hiring patterns. So anything that reduces the regulatory burden or time to market is a critical success factor for entrepreneurs. That would be one recommendation immediately we could make to the EU. Secondly is entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs, want support and they want to learn. And so anything we can do to provide specific training for entrepreneurs is really important. They also very much value the ability to work with each other and other mentors. More than 50% said they value coordinated support, so more incubators, more accelerators, environments where they're free to collaborate and learn from each other, and other success stories will make them successful.
Mm-hmm. We can take for granted that there is a lot of visibility around entrepreneurship the last years, but it is certain, let's say, that isn't something for everyone. Not everyone has the skills or the talent or the interest in doing something like entrepreneurship. What alternative is there for people with no entrepreneurial skills or mindset?
Actually, you're right. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but having an entrepreneurial mindset, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or not, is critical. We recently completed a job creation report that found that high-growth companies actually want to hire. More than 70% are planning to increase their workforce in double digits. This is a phenomenon, whereas we do have the capacity to hire and fulfill jobs, and yet we have unemployment. unemployment, in particular youth unemployment. And what's critical for these companies that are hiring is that not only are they hiring technical skill, they're asking for skill set to actually commercialize, deploy, really apply application skills. And that is an entrepreneurial mindset. And so having an entrepreneurial mindset is really important. There's also entrepreneurship. So in various corporations, people can apply creativity inside a corporation. Corporations are starving for innovation and new ideas and different ways of being more efficient and actually more creative in products and services. So making sure that we understand what the benefits are of this skill set and teaching them. So today, many schools really are preparing youth and graduate studies for employment in a corporation. But if others were exposed to the notion of preparing for an entrepreneurial mindset, whether in a corporation or in your own entrepreneurial venture, we might have a different outcome. In other words, you might be asking me, how is it that everyone is interested in entrepreneurship rather than how is it that there isn't another alternative for something we don't understand?
Mm-hmm. And one last question about the young people you have already mentioned. There was a Eurobarometer survey the last May showing that the majority of young Europeans are not interested in entrepreneurship or starting a new business. Is it relevant to have young people interested in entrepreneurship? And if so, how can we engage more young people in entrepreneurship?
Well, it's an interesting study, surely, and that's all with developing an entrepreneurial culture. So first and foremost is how do they feel about failure? And failure is a learning opportunity. How risk averse or risk-taking are they? Do we really teach that to young people? Do we allow them really to create an atmosphere where they can trial and error? And so it's very comfortable to take on perhaps a government job or something that is less volatile perhaps in a corporation, but of course we know there's volatility there too. So really exposing young people to this career early is really important, and we know successful programs that do this. NIFTY, for example, Network for Teaching Young Entrepreneurs, is phenomenal. Really gets into the program early, teaches young people how to create a business plan. Inevitably, they learn how to budget, and they're better at math. And they learn the value of a product and service, a cost per unit, and how to relate to the outside world in terms of creating a product or demand. How those marketing skills translate into interpersonal skills. So even if they don't become entrepreneurs, they've created a whole skill set that they can take with them. So my point on this is if we start early and introduce these concepts, we might have a different outcome. If we change the environment in which trial and error and failure and risk aversion is really, or risk-taking is really accepted, we might have a different outcome. It's not for everyone, but clearly the skill sets that we can learn along the way would be so beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for the interview and the interesting points you have made.
Thank you.